Hey guys, today I thought I would actually go over a gun review, and the gun I wanted to use was a Beretta PX4 Storm. Now the one I have today is actually the compact version, and I just wanted to discuss why I like or dislike this gun. Now I know a lot of you aren't going to stick around for the whole review, so the bottom line, I love the gun. Alright, Beretta is a phenomenal Italian company. They make a high quality firearm, and I absolutely love their products. Now, why do I like their products? Number one, out of the box, this PX4 Storm just has a good feel to it. And when you first take it out to the range, the accuracy is phenomenal. A lot of times you have to adjust sights and everything for your new purchase, and that's not bad. It definitely gives you that play so that you can make it perfect for you. Now with this firearm, taking out of the box and just plinking a couple rounds off, it was exactly where it should be for me. It has a great feel to it, and I just truly enjoy it. Something that's a little bit different for the Beretta product, though, compared to a lot of other firearms, is how it actually shoots. So I'll break that down and kind of tell you a little bit about this product. Number one, its barrel is actually rotating instead of tilting or fixed. So I'm going to show you that. And if you watch right in here, as I begin to bring this back, you can see that that barrel begins to rotate. So kind of a slightly different feature than what most firearms are, where the barrel tilts. So you have a different angle for that cartridge to get picked up after you fired the last one. So something kind of neat about it. I've never had any issues with it not rotating or jamming or anything like that. So that's another reason I'm definitely a fan of this particular model. Now, as far as how it fires, there's three different ways that a semi-auto can fire. You have double action, you have single action, and then you have traditional double action. Now, double action is typically called striker fired in today's modern firearms, but we do have a hammer. And right now you can see the hammer is to the rear, meaning if I squeeze the trigger, I'd have a very light trigger pull, which is awesome. Now, a lot of people don't like carrying around in the chamber and the firearm on fire for the simple fact they're afraid it's going to go off. So what they have here is called a traditional double action. This lever right here, which is typically your safety, is also an auto decock for this firearm. So watch my hammer as I engage my safety or that auto decock selector. You can see the hammer just fell, and because it just fell, it put it in a double action mode. I'm going to use that same selector. I'm going to put it back on fire. Now when I'm carrying this firearm, instead of having a light trigger, it's going to have that double action heavier pull for round number one. Now after you fire and the slide comes to the rear, it'll cock the hammer for you. So every follow-up shot is going to have that nice light smooth trigger. That's one thing that I truly do love about this. It's that traditional double action firing sequence for it. So just phenomenal. If you don't want to use that, you could also just keep it in the single action mode. So you would have a light trigger, whether it's your first round or your last round, it's going to have a nice light trigger. But again, if you do like it, you could always hit that switch, automatically decock your hammer, put it back on fire. Now while you're carrying it, it has a heavier trigger, so it's less prone to ever going off for those of you who think, you know, it's dangerous carrying a gun with a round in the chamber. So pretty cool feature right there. Now another thing about this gun, I do live in New York State, so it comes with 10 round magazines for it. I'll just put one of these in. It is a flush mount magazine, so I have a full grip on this, and that's one thing I like. I don't have the largest hands or anything, but I do love when all of my fingers fit on a firearm versus a real small or compact version like subcompact. My pinky may not fit on the grip. That's kind of uncomfortable when you're shooting quite a few rounds off in a day. So for this one here, I have a better grip on it, so I personally prefer to have that larger grip or frame to that gun. Now another thing that's kind of neat about this is it's magazine release. When I press the switch, everything does fall out on its own. I know some firearms, right out of the box, you know, it might take a little bit of wear before that starts going in and out a little easy. But this one, it just seemed to work. As far as the owner's manual goes, it's fairly long compared to what most owner manuals would be. And one of the reasons is because it is an Italian firearm, it's both in English and Italian for you. So I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit to the English side, and we'll talk about the actual firearm and the bonuses that you get with this one. All right, so right here, where I wanted to go, What it has is an ambidextrous safety selector. Now, it's not set up on both sides of the gun, but if you are left-handed, your safety selector could be moved to the other side, as well as your magazine release. So a pretty cool feature right there if you're left-handed. Not a lot of firearms do that. They tell you right here in your owner's manual how to actually do that. So if you're right-handed or left-handed, the gun could be set up perfect for you. That's one thing I really like about it. As far as the magazines and your ammo and stuff go for this, there's a lot of different brands of ammo that exist. And a problem that I see is newer people in the gun world, they just think all 9mm are the same. And that's what this one was chambered in, was 9mm. So one of the things that I end up seeing is someone doesn't really understand the ammo section. They go to the gun store and they just ask for a box of 9mm ammo. And if you're working with someone who's not really particular with firearms, no problem. They'd probably sell you a box and it may work. But there's a lot of different size cartridges that are available or chambered in 9mm. So 9x19 is also known as 9mm Luger. That's also known as 9mm Parabellum. But you have other 9mm cartridges that do exist. For instance, a 380 cartridge is the same projectile as a 9mm. A 357 is the same. A 38 Special is the same. The 9mm 9x19 is the same. So if you're not really familiar with it, you might not realize that 9x19 actually means 9mm Luger or 9mm Parabellum. And when you're at the gun store, you might see a box that says 9x18 or 9 Largo and think, oh, this could work. It's a 9mm still. And they won't. You have to match up your ammo to the firearm. And the book does a great job of actually breaking that down when you get into the ammo section. Now, as far as shooting this gun goes, it's comfortable. There's not a lot of whip, although it's a shorter barrel and so forth, and you're going to lose a lot of gas and so forth out of it. The one thing that I like about it is because it's heavy, it's actually a dense firearm. When you go to shoot, your recoil isn't popping up nearly as much as some of those smaller guns, but it stays fairly flat for you. And if you could control that recoil by breaking your wrist over a little bit more, awesome. It's going to shoot that much more flat for you. Some other things about the gun that I'm kind of a fan of. The trigger. The trigger has a nice crisp break overall. There's a fair amount of creep to it, and this is fully unloaded. I'm just going to verify before I pull the trigger. So you have a nice amount of take up on your trigger, but once you hit that last section, it's a nice crisp snap to it, and I do enjoy that. As far as takedown and stuff goes, it's going to be pretty much like any other firearm. You have your takedown levers right up here for it. There's nothing too fancy. If you wanted to mount a flashlight to it, a bayonet, which would be cool, but no, maybe not a bayonet, but a flashlight or a laser, you do have the ability with its lower accessory rail to do so. This one is not designed to actually mount an optic to it for like an RMR or anything like that. And that's all right too. It has decent sights on it. They are just iron sights. It's used by a dovetail, so you'd actually have to drift it left or right if you wanted to adjust it. You don't have the normal windage back there with a screw or anything. And as far as that goes, one thing I kind of like for more or less having a fixed sight like this is when you're carrying your gun, you don't have to worry about that ever coming loose or rattling or bumping or getting out of place or anything. It's typically going to be right where it was because you have to use a fair amount of force to move that over. With there's a different brace you could put over here, and you could adjust the windage that way by using kind of like a vise. Or you could also just, if you have a mallet and you have a drift punch, you could always just tap it over left or right. Not my favorite thing, but for this one, like I said, out of the box, it shot perfect for me. So I'm not going to bother touching it.